Hello everyone, welcome to Ferdinand Tutorials. In this video, I want us to look at aldoses and ketoses. We're talking about aldoses and ketoses. Aldoses and ketoses are monosaccharide sugars. Now, when you hear about aldoses are monosaccharide that contains the aldehyde functional group. What is an aldehyde functional group? Aldehyde functional group is something like RCHO. Now, that is an aldoses. Aldoses are monosaccharides that contain aldehyde functional group. Examples of aldoses, we have glyceraldehyde, we have glucose, galactose. Are we there? Now, we have ketoses. Ketoses are monosaccharides that contains the ketone functional group. What are the ketone functional group? Ketone functional group is RCH, RCO, R prime rather. RCO, R prime. That is the ketone functional group. Now you can also say something like RC double bond O R prime. This is the same thing as this. So that is the ketone functional group. Now, when we are talking about aldoses and ketoses, I want you to understand something. Remember, in my video on carbohydrates, I talked about what we call monosaccharide, disaccharide, oligo, and the polysaccharide. I told us that monosaccharides are simple sugars. Now, a quick explanation actually. Disaccharides are sugars that are formed when we have two combinations of monosaccharide. I gave you examples of disaccharides like your lactose, your maltose, and your sucrose. I told you for a maltose to be formed, we must have two monosaccharide units. What are the two monosaccharide units? Glucose and glucose. So when we have two glucose units combined together, we form a maltose. Now, under lactose, when we have glucose and galactose combined together, they form a lactose. Now, under sucrose, when we have glucose and fructose that are joined together, they form what? They form a sucrose. Those are disaccharides. Now, in polysaccharides are combination of varying units of monosaccharides. So, examples of polysaccharide, we have starch, we have glycogen, we have cellulose. They are all polysaccharides. So, we can have 1000 units of glucose combined together to form a polysaccharide. And when we're talking about oligosaccharides is just 3 units of glucose unit or monosaccharide unit up until 10 units of monosaccharide unit. So we can have something like maltotrioses, which is formed when we have 3 glucose units combined together. So those are examples of carbohydrates. But today, we want to focus more on the monosaccharide, which is aldoses and ketoses. Now, I want you to understand something. When we're talking about this sugar monosaccharide starts with 3 sugars. We have trioses, which is 3 carbon sugars. We have tetroses, which is 4 carbon sugars. We have pentoses, which are 5 carbon sugars. We have hexoses, which are 6 carbon sugars. I will stop at heptoses, which are 7 carbon sugars. Now, if we look at trioses, we have what we call aldotrioses. Because we're talking about aldose and ketoses, we have what we call aldotrioses and we have what? Ketotrioses. Now, let's look at this aldotrioses. Aldotrioses, and then we have ketotrioses. Now, under aldotrioses, we are looking at aldehyde sugars that contains 3 carbon sugar, right? So we can have examples of aldotrioses. We have glyceraldehyde, right? We can have glyceraldehyde. Now, under ketotrioses that has 3 carbon sugar, as we can have something like DHA, dihydroxy acetone. That's an example of ketotrioses. Now, let's look at aldotetrose. Aldotetrose. Now, examples of aldotetrose here, we have erythrose. Now, examples of ketotetrose, we can have erythrulose. Now, if we come to aldopentose, example of an aldopentose here is aldopentose. Remember, aldopentose are aldehyde sugar that contain 5 carbon sugar, right? What are aldehyde sugar? Aldehyde sugar are sugar that contain aldehyde functional group. So if you don't call them aldehyde sugar, you call them aldoses. So under aldopentose here, we can have something like ribose and deoxyribose. They are all aldopentoses. Ketopentoses, I can have something like ribulose. Are we there? I will stop at 6 carbon sugar. Now, because of time, Now, under hexoses here, we have aldohexoses. Aldohexoses. Now, for my aldohexoses, I have example. I have glucose. We have glucose, galactose, mannose. They are all examples of what? Aldohexose. Now, if I come to ketohexose, ketohexose. Now, under ketohexose here, I have something like fructose. Fructose. Now, these are aldoses and ketoses. Now, let me give you an instance. If I have something like a sugar alcohol, remember in alcohol we have what we call, monohydric, dihydric, and trihydric. Let's take for instance a trihydric alcohol like propan 1,2,3 triol. Let's say I have something like C. Let me use C, 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 and then I have what we call OH, OH, OH. Now this is H, this is H, this is H, this is H, and this is H. This is propan 1,2,3 triol. This is the IUPAC name. Now the common name for this particular alcohol is glycerol. Glycerol. Are we there? If you look at this, this is a 3-carbon atom. I want us to start forming our aldoses and ketoses from this. Now we call this a glycerol. I told you that the IUPAC name is what? Propan 1,2,3 triol. Is a trihydric alcohol. Now I can form my sugar from this. Remember, I told you that aldotrioses, example is glyceraldehyde. So if I remove 2 hydrogen atom, if I remove 2 hydrogen atom from this particular sugar alcohol, I will form my what? My glyceraldehyde. How is glyceraldehyde formed? Glyceraldehyde is something like this: CHO, C, C, H2, OH, and then I have OH, I have C, I have H. This is diglyceraldehyde. This is an example of what? An aldotrioses, an aldose sugar that contains 3 carbon atoms. Remember this CH2OH. CH2OH is the same thing as CH, like HOH. So this is CH2OH. CH2OH is the same thing as this. I hope you understood what I mean. So this is an example of an aldotriose. Now, what makes this particular sugar an aldehyde sugar? This is the functional group. Aldehyde functional group. This is an aldose sugar, aldotriose. So we can have ketotriose. Ketotriose like dihydroxy acetone. So how is it formed? We have something like CH2OH. We have C double bond O, and then we have CH2OH. This is dihydroxy acetone. Are we there? So this is aldotriose. What's the name of this aldotriose? Glyceraldehyde. This is ketotriose. What's the name of this ketotriose? Dihydroxy acetone. Are we following? So we say that aldotriose are aldehyde sugar that contains 3 carbon atom. Example: glyceraldehyde, glyceraldehyde. This is dihydroxy, dihydroxy acetone. Now we come to aldotetrose. In aldotetrose, we have example. I have example. This is glycerol. Please know that this is not a sugar. This is just a sugar alcohol. We use it as an additive. I told you is the IUPAC name is propan 1,2,3 triol. When I remove 2 hydrogen atom from it, I will now form CHO, which is the functional group CHO. Are we there now? So every other thing remain the same. I hope you follow me. So we can have 4 carbon atom. That's when we have aldotetrose like erythrulose. We'll have something like this: CHO, and then I have C. I have, remember, I will have 4 carbon atom. This is 3 carbon atom. So I will now have HOH, HOH, and then I'll have CH2OH. This is D-erythrose. And the name is what? Aldotetrose. Are we there? Examples of an aldotetrose: D-erythrose. This is the structure here. Now in an open form. Now ketotetrose. We've looked at ketotrioses. For my ketotetrose, which is erythrulose, I will have something like this: CH2OH. Remember, I'm talking about 4 carbon atoms. So C. Usually the second carbon atom in keto sugars is usually contains the ketone functional group, which is C double bond O. So we have C, we have H, OH, and then we have CH2OH. This is the erythrulose. Are we following? This is the erythrulose. So we've looked at, the structure of aldotrioses, ketotrioses, aldotetrosis, ketotetrosis. I'll give you an example here. This is glyceraldehyde. This is dihydroxy acetone. This is the erythrulose. This is the erythrulose. Now let's look at our ketopentoses. Now for ketopentoses, ketopentoses simply means we are talking about keto sugar with 5 carbon atoms. So I can give you an example. We can have something. Remember, 5 carbon atoms. We have C2, C3, C4, C5. So the last C is usually CH2OH. This is the functional group CHO. So I have H, I have OH, I have H, I have OH, I have H, I have OH. What's the name of this sugar? We say this is D-ribose. This is an aldopentose sugar. Aldopentose sugar, aldehyde sugar that contains 5 carbon atoms. These are the 5 carbon atoms: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is an example of aldopentose. Now, we can look at ketopentose. Ketopentose, CH2OH, right? Now, we can also say carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5. I told you that the second carbon atom is usually contains the carbonyl functional group, which is CO, or the keto functional group, which is CO. And then we have HOH, we have HOH, and then we have CH2OH. Are we together? So this is the ribulose. Are we there now? Now let's look at aldohexoses. Now, example of aldohexoses, I gave you example. We have glucose. What's the structure here? In glucose, already remember aldehyde sugar starts with CHO. So we look at 6 carbon atoms. So this is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, carbon 6. So here we have H, we have OH. In the third carbon atom, we usually have OH, H, we have H, we have OH, we have H, we have OH. Are we there? And then we have CH2OH. This is the glucose. The glucose. What is the glucose? The glucose is what? An aldohexoses. This is the glucose. Now we can have a ketohexose, which is fructose. So here, remember 6 carbon atom. We start with CH2OH. After CH2, we have C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6. Now here, we say that it contains the ketone functional group, which is C double bond O. And then third carbon atom, we have OH. OH, we have H. We have H, we have OH, we have H, we have OH, and then we have CH2OH. So this is the fructose. Are we there now? So these are some of the aldoses and ketoses that I want us to know. There are many of them. I just gave you, just a tip, something that you can work with. Are we there? So look at these particular sugars, learn their structure, starting from aldotrioses, which is glyceraldehyde, to aldotetrosis, erythrose, to aldopentoses, which you have ribose, to aldohexoses, which you have glucose. There are many of them. Under aldohexoses, we have mannose, we have galactose. Are we there? Under aldopentoses, we have deoxyribose, not just ribose. Now, when we come to ketotrioses is dihydroxy acetone, ketotetrosis, erythrulose, ketopentoses, ribulose, ketohexoses, fructose. So those are some of the things I want us to look at under aldoses and ketoses. So you have a particular question related to aldoses and ketoses, drop it down in the comment section. I will try my best to answer, those questions.